Welcome back to IDP Bets. My name is Johny the Greek. How is everybody doing? Good to see you guys. It's been a great off season. Glad to have you back. I am joined, as is tradition, by my co-host at Adam IDP on Twitter. He's Adam Marcum, the co-host of the IDPShow.com flagship podcast. He's a dynasty ranker, known degenerate, and fan of chicken. Adam, how are you, sir?
Doing great. I haven't had any chicken today, so could be better. But yeah, we got the man Justin Varnes in the house. It's electric right now, Johnny.
The night is young for chicken. Don't worry, there's still time.
Oh yeah, there's some spots that are open all night, no doubt. I'm very hungry too.
Beautiful. Yeah, and as Adam mentioned, we've got one of our favorites back here. He is at Down with IDP, all one word on Twitter. Justin Varnes, IDP analyst for fantasypoints.com, contributor to the IDPshow.com, veteran of IDP Twitter since 2015. That's forever on IDP Twitter, let me tell you. One of the best in the business. Hear him weekly in season on the morning show on Sirius XM Fantasy Sports Radio. Mr. Varnes, how are you, sir?
Doing well, gentlemen. Good to be back and talking some ball with y'all. Always love coming on the show.
Yes, sir. Good to have you. So we've got about 3 bets apiece, and same format as last year. We'll explain them. Before we get into that, though, these aren't even suggestions. We are literally just discussing the bets we may be making personally. Set a limit and stick to it. For help with problem gambling, please call 1-800-GAMBLER. Let's start with our special guest, Mr. Varnes. What do you got? What are you thinking for week 1? What's your first one?
Well, there wasn't a ton out there that really stuck out to me, but one in particular really did jump off the page, and it just has recently been listed, and that's BetMGM posted a Bobby Wagner tackle prop at over 7.5 tackles and assists at -105. I mean, I know, so look, Bobby Wagner has been on. For the last 4 off seasons, he's changed teams, right? So, although one was leaving Seattle and then one was coming back to Seattle and then leaving again, but nonetheless, no matter where he jumps to, he always puts up tackles. And I understand, again, the man's 34 years old, but last year he was 33, and he still, averaged 10 to 12 tackles a game. Now, Seattle's defense last year really got gashed in the run game, so that. He's obviously an elite player. He's a Hall of Famer, but he also had help in that he had a terrible run defense playing in front of him, basically. Now he's moved over to the Commanders, and I'm actually not expecting a whole lot different from the Commanders. This does not, unfortunately, look like a great defense for him this year, which means he's probably going to be on the field a ton. And when I see 8 tackles for Wagner, last year he played all 17 games. 14 of those games he had at least 8 tackles. So I'm not expecting 12 to 15 tackles like we used to see in his heyday, but that man can get us 8 tackles pretty easily, particularly on a Commanders team that I'm expecting to struggle a little bit on the defensive side of the ball.
Yeah, no, I'm with you completely. And one of the bets I wrote up for a different website was Tampa Bay money line, just easily handling this Washington team and, keeping them on defense for most of the game. So I feel like this is pretty likely. Adam, what do you think about that one?
Yeah, I mean, Bobby Wagner led the league in tackles last season, right? So I mean, that's a slam dunk right there. They were pretty sharp with most of these lines, but that one feels like it may have got away from him a little bit. He'll get 2 tackles Sunday. Didn't he do that a few years ago, week 1 or something?
He did. Yeah, he did. And we all got those questions. Is it time to drop Bobby Wagner? Please don't do that.
Yeah. That's going on with Nick Bolton right now, too. I think everyone.
Yeah, right.
I drop Bolton for Chanel.
Crazy. Yeah, not until Wagner retires. Then you can drop him.
There you go.
Yeah, good stuff right there. I'm with you on that. Adam, what do you got for your first one?
I'm going with Maxx Crosby, over 4.5 tackles plus assists. That's plus 120. He has hit this over in 11 of his 17 last games. He is averaging 5.2 tackles per game over his last 34 games, 90 tackles in 2023, 89 in 2022. Great matchup. Harbaugh at the helm there in LA. You figure they run the ball a ton and try and control the clock. which should lead to a lot of opportunities for Maxx Crosby. So it's week one, it's triple X Max. He's going to be fired up. I looked at his last 3 week one games, 5 tackles, 1 sack in 2023, 10 tackles in 2022, 6 tackles, 2 sacks in 2021. Dude does well in week one. He's going to be ready. 4.5 tackles. That's insulting.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, this is a guy who obviously plays literally almost every snap of the season, and he's certainly going to start that way. I mean, maybe now that he's a year older, he starts getting gassed toward the end of the season, but certainly I totally agree, he's going to come out firing. And also just a reminder, everybody, that a sack does get counted as a tackle. So, he's probably going to get a sack or 2 in this game. Those will all help us with that tackle prop. Yeah, I like that one, Adam, a lot.
Yeah, great point about the Chargers changing up their offense. Not only do they not have any pass catching options anymore, it is Harbaugh at the helm, so they're going to run and play defense. So yeah, that should increase the opportunities quite a bit. I'm with you on that. That's good stuff. Beautiful. All right, couple good ones to start. I'm going to go with Patrick Queen over 6.5 combined tackles. Price is -145, but you can parlay around Robin that to improve that a little bit. Quick little preface here. So easy run stopping tackles are our floor, right? That handoff that ends with the opposing inside linebacker making the tackle. That's the bread and butter of these IDP prop bets. That's a concept that we rarely discuss, but it's key to a lot of these thoughts and ideas, right? With that in mind, the Atlanta Falcons were the 9th overall rushing attack last season. They averaged over 30 attempts per game. And yep, they did add Kirk Cousins. That's definitely going to improve that 22nd overall passing attack from 2023. But I think we all know Bijan is still the engine that drives this offense. This game is at home. It's in Atlanta. They're favored by Vegas by 3.5. Russell Wilson is now questionable to play. This could be a scenario where the Falcons are salting this away in the fourth quarter, leading to some more easy run stopping tackles for Patrick Queen. Regardless, there should be more than enough rushing attempts and short passes into his coverage area to make this happen. Landon Roberts and company will be competing for those tackles, but 7 combined tackles from a guy who averaged 8 combined tackles a game last season with Roquan Smith next to him, sucking up all that production, and is now in an ideal scenario to get that with this matchup. Feels like a no-brainer to me. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that one. I wonder if the number is that low, partly based on what Pittsburgh's linebackers have done over the last several seasons, but they have not had a linebacker like Patrick Queen. They have struggled to find somebody who can actually stay on the field for 3 downs. So they've done patchwork, trying to get at least 2 linebackers on the field, but very rarely are we seeing 100% participation there. But that's why you go out and get a guy like Patrick Queen to solidify that. So I agree. I think that number should be either 7.5 or 8.5. I love it at 6.5. Great call there, man. Adam, what do you think?
I think it's the bet of the year. I love it. I love it.
There it is.
I mean, Patrick Queen, I feel like he's going to have his best year tackle season that we've seen. So, I mean, yeah, I agree with everything you guys say. It's going to be a lot of a green and night, boys. So,
and it's week
minds.
one.
Great minds.
Yeah.
Yeah. Who knows, right? It's week. We don't have any real data yet. So this is all gut feelings and last year's info.
Right. But he's going to be on the field 100% of the snaps. They just gave that dude like a 3-year, $40 million deal. So yeah, he's LB1. He's going to be wearing the dot. So that's a gettable tackle number. I like it.
Yeah, definitely lower total. Beautiful. All right, Mr. Varnes, what do you got for number 2?
I'm going to go. I'm going to stick with our little trend here of linebackers, and I'm going to talk about Tyrel Dodson. To me, the prop I've got is over 7.5 tackles and assists, -105 on DraftKings. I think he's an underrated player. I think he really played well last year, and earned this free agent contract with Seattle. Now he is now the man in the middle of that. He's taken over for Bobby Wagner. I just mentioned that Seattle's defense was, particularly against the run, was really bad last year. And I know, they hired Mike McDonald as their head coach, and obviously he's going to bring that impressive Ravens scheme there, and they're going to do a lot of cool stuff. I think that's going to really help that defense. But nonetheless, I do think that he's going to be on the field for every snap. I think he's actually, if not one of the most underrated linebackers, because the little bit he did get on the field before last year looked great. Definitely when he was on the field a bunch last year, he looked great. And so he's going to be sitting there, 8 tackles. I mean, they're going against Denver. They have a rookie quarterback. They've got Javonte Williams there. Even last year when Russell Wilson was going off script and driving Sean Payton bananas, doing that where he wanted to kind of settle down and run the ball more. Johnny, you're making a great point. A lot of what we're doing right now is prognosticating, right? We haven't seen this Denver offense yet. So we have to use partly of what we've seen from last year. How did they do? Obviously, it's the same head coach, roughly the same offense. So we can lean on that a little bit more as opposed to a new regime coming onto a new team. So, but last year, Denver averaged 21.5 tackles per game to linebackers. I think Dodson's going to be in line for the lion's share of that. And again, with the rookie QB, my guess is they will lean heavily on the run game and also some dump off passes as well. So I just think that puts Dodson in a good place to get over that. Usually we see these linebacker tackles be somewhere between 7.5 and 9.5. That's kind of the range. The elite guys will get up to 10.5, but anytime it's on that lower end, 7.5, and I think it's a player who's going to be on the field for every snap and who is an above average player. I tend to circle those on my books, and this is one I thought was too good to pass up.
Yeah, really good point. I think it's I'm interested in players, where defensive minded coaches like seek them out, which is what we saw with McDonald and Tyrel Dodson. And then there's nobody there, right? I mean, Jerome Baker, who is he even healthy? Is he going to be okay to go week 1? But if he does, for how long, right? I mean, he's been kind of a mystery this offseason. And then you got like a 4th round rookie, Tyrese Knight, who we like somewhat in Dynasty, but chances are we don't see much of him year 1. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be Dodson out there. And I mean, it seems like any linebacker that Seattle has, and I know Bobby Wagner helps this, but I mean, any linebacker that's there in Seattle is usually a tackle eater.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. Jordan Brooks back in the day too. Yep.
Right.
KJ Wright for a little bit there.
Yeah. Kate. Oh my God. KJ Wright. That's a blast from the past. Yeah.
Big ups to KJ Wright. Oh, those are the days. Wagner and Wright.
We love that guy. And Justin had a good point there too. With Bo Nix, I mean, you're kind of forced to just run and play defense, limit mistakes, hope that Seattle screws up a little bit, take advantage of those mistakes. He's not going to be 99 Kurt Warner out there or anything. So, their options are limited. So I think the game script plays into that as well. Definitely. All right. Good stuff. Adam, how about you? What do you got for number 2?
All right. I'm looking at the Texans Colts matchup. Kenny Moore over 5.5 tackles plus assists. It's plus 120. Monster AFC matchup right off the rip. This feels like just a monster Kenny Moore game, right? Texans getting all the Super Bowl buzz. Just added a stud receiver. I guarantee you Kenny Moore is not happy about the Texans hype. Kenny hit this tackle line of 5.5 in 10 of 16 games last season. He is averaging 5.8 tackles per game over his last 45. It's ideal usage for tackle production. 72% of his snaps came in the slot or in the box. So just a great matchup here for Kenny. I imagine he'll spend a ton of time on Diggs or Tank Dell. Both these guys should get 10 targets apiece. So yeah, over 5.5 plus 120. Nice to see some plus money, but I like this one.
Yeah, I totally agree that and that plus money really does help because he's, we've seen Kenny Moore do this year in, year out, and we see so much turnover when it comes to cornerback tackles. That's just the nature of the league and the nature of the variance in what it's like to be a cornerback. Because some one game you'll have 12 tackles, the next game you'll have one. That's just how it goes. But how they use Kenny Moore, they've consistently used Kenny Moore like that. So much time in the slot. He's also, and this stuff kind of gets swept under the rug sometimes. Some of these corners are excellent tacklers. They want to play the run. They think of themselves. They're like these little yappy dogs that think that they're Rottweilers. Like they want to be, these linebackers or these defensive linemen. They play like that. They hit like that. And Moore is one of those guys. So he's going to be seeking the ball, not just worrying about his coverage responsibilities, which we have seen from some other cornerbacks who are great at coverage, but you can clearly see that they're shying away from contact. That is not Kenny Moore. And that's the sort of thing that'll take him from 4 tackles to 6 tackles, as opposed to just kind of, staying in his area. And I'm expecting them to run a decent amount of zone, which also gives Kenny Moore a little bit of a boost there. So yeah, and plus money for sure. That makes that all the sweeter.
Yep, I agree as well. In fact, this was one of mine as well. Apologies in advance. I'm just going to read it. So Kenny Moore did average about 6 tackles a game last season. This is a perfect situation for him to cruise past that 5.5 against last year's 7th overall passing attack with the Texans. That was as high as number 2 before that Stroud. You guys remember that Stroud concussion that took him out for a couple games and killed that ranking a little bit. They also target their wide receivers, 9th most in the league. That helps quite a bit. They added more offensive firepower with Diggs and Mixon. This is an indoor game where we've seen increased points per game and increased passing yards in the last 10 seasons consecutively. Vegas has this at 48.5 points, which is the 3rd highest total for week 1. Divisional game expected to be a back and forth affair, and trusting the finest IDP cornerback to ever play the game since probably like Antoine Winfield Sr. in this literally perfect setup feels pretty good to me.
Yeah. We're all three in agreement. This is a good one. He's one of the few cornerbacks I think we can rely on for all the reasons that all three of us said. So I like this one. And again, plus money. That's great.
Yeah, rare plus money this week. We'll take it.
Yeah.
Alrighty. All right. So my second one, we're going to go back to the linebackers here. I'm going to say Terrell Bernard of the Bills, over 7.5 combined tackles at -130. This is a little bit more of a guess, and this is a guess based off the Cardinals' 4th overall rushing attack that they had last season. It was only 13th for rushing attempts last season, but that number should have and could have been higher if Kyler Murray hadn't have missed like 9 games, right? Because with Kyler under center, they're not abandoning the run to try and play catch up as often as they had to do last season. Plus, Kyler Murray's tendency to scamper away from trouble and into the arms of opposing linebackers is another positive factor here for Bernard. Bernard averaged 8.5 combined tackles per game last season, 1 more than what we need. And with Milano on IR and the safety situation in flux a little bit, the competition for tackles won't be as bad as it could be. This is the 4th highest over-under for week 1 at 47.5 points. We've got a healthy Cardinals offense for the first time in what feels like years. They'll give the Bills some headaches, and Bernard will be there to prescribe medicine all game long.
Yeah, I like that one. And yeah, I love that you're referencing that over. What we really want to see is a little bit of a shootout, as long as Arizona can hold up to its side of the bargain. And also Arizona goes through stretches where they'll play fast, and fast offense will really help drive that snap count up. And yeah, there's basically, like you said, there's nobody there really but Bernard to make that happen. I like that. That's a good call.
Yeah, I love it. And I'm buying the hype there in Arizona. I think they got some good stuff going on there. I mean, Marvin Harrison in the building now, Trey McBride looking like one of the best young tight ends in the league. So yeah, I think that they'll be out there quite a bit, and that should, give Bernard a lot of opportunities. Also, I like Teron Johnson quite a bit in this game. We talked about, Kenny Moore, same type guy, but I think his tackle line was 5.5. So I'd hammer the over on that one too.
Yeah, I like that one.
Yeah, it could be a sneaky good matchup for us. Absolutely. All right, I believe we're back to Mr. Varnes for number 3 here.
Yeah, so I'm going to go defensive back. We just talked about Kenny Moore and somebody who's not afraid to go after contact. So somebody who's very aggressive in the run as well as the pass. And we're going to talk about somebody now who I think will end up in the Hall of Fame. What's odd is that he is now being overshadowed by the other safeties on his team, and that's Harrison Smith. Harrison Smith, I think he had 93 tackles last season. We think of when we think of Minnesota's safeties, we think of Cam Bynum and we think of Josh Metellus, phenomenal players. But Harrison is actually right there with them. Last year, if you look carefully at their alignment, they all pretty much rotated fairly evenly. And I know that Bynum got the lion's share, but some of this is variance. Some of it is just luck. However it had rolled out. Sometimes a player who they all play essentially the same position. They all rotate around. What happens there, particularly in a Brian Flores defense, which is never going to show his cards. It's never going to be like, okay, well, we can assume here that Harrison Smith is going to be the deep safety. No, that's exactly how his defense works. Is you can never know where any of these three are going to be, and that's why they started to have some success on defense last year. Of their snaps, it was actually Harrison Smith who had the most linebacker snaps, and he and Josh Metellus basically tied with box and defensive line snaps. So he's not buried in the back of this defense without a chance to get it. So when I see 4.5 tackles, that's at least one, if not 2 tackles too low for me. It's minus 125 on DraftKings. Last year, even though, like I said, he got the short end of the tackle stick last year, he still hit 5 tackles in 12 of his 16 games. So I think he got unlucky, and he still hit this 12 out of 16 times. I think this is a pretty good one. Obviously they're playing the Giants. We're not exactly sure what that offense is going to look, but we do know that they have invested in wide receiver. They do have some more offensive weapons. So as long as Daniel Jones can kind of stay upright, I think that Harrison Smith can get 5 tackles.
Yeah, that is a super low number for him. Yeah, that does seem like a bit of a mistake on Vegas's part. So yeah, I'm with you on that. And it's like a 1.5 point spread or something. This is not going to be a bloodbath either way. It should be hotly contested, mostly because both teams stink. But that's okay. We'll take. Sorry, Adam. Adam's a Vikings fan. I'm sorry, buddy, but it should be close, and that's good. We want that. What do you think, Adam?
No, I mean, I don't think this defense is good. So I do think that the Giants will be able to move the ball and, have some extended, drives. So yeah, I like it quite a bit. I mean, it's his body of work is just too good. It's been good for a decade. It's like, I kind of trust the players sometimes. And that's way too low.
Nice. All right. What do you got for number 3 there, Adam?
All right, so I thought we would just look at we need to give some love to some of these sack guys. It's been all tackles tonight. I thought let's just skim through a few that I liked. Shout a few guys out. For the most part, I mean it is hard to make money on these. I mean they're pretty locked in. It's like if you want to bet TJ Watt to have a sack, it's going to be minus 300 or whatever.
Yeah.
So. Arizona versus Bills. This is an interesting one. Dennis Gardeck, the long-haired Gargarian, plus 2.5 is plus 290.
Ooh.
So interesting. We just talked about that could be a nice little back and forth game. I mean, Gardeck did have he had a 17.3% pressure rate last season. He's going to get a ton of volume. That edge room is super thin. It's like him and Zaven Collins. They lost BJ Ojolari. I think the rookie is going to be out for a little bit, Darius Robinson. So, I mean, like volume wise, I think Gardeck's going to get like 70-80% of the snaps potentially. So, I mean, he can make some things happen. Sometimes Josh Allen holds onto the ball too long. You never know. That's good. That's plus 290. I mean, that's pretty solid. And then I liked the Denver Seattle game. Baron Browning plus 185 to get a quarter of a sack. Pretty solid. Zach Allen is plus 210 for a quarter of a sack. So all of these are quarter of a sack props that I'm going to talk about. But that's an interesting game. I mean, you know, they're going to be going up against Geno Smith. I mean, that's you can do worse than that. And then Bengals versus the Pats. I mean, the Pats are terrible. Their offensive line is awful. Sam Hubbard, I think he's going to have a nice little bounce back season. He's plus 105 to get a quarter of a sack. Texans Colts, Will Anderson is plus 130 to get a quarter. I really like that.
Yeah.
So I thought that was a nice one. And then in the Vikings Giants game, Kayvon is plus 105 to get a quarter of a sack. I mean, the Vikings have good offensive line, but it's Sam Darnold, you know. And then on the other side of the ball, I like Andrew Van Ginkel. He's plus 110 to get a quarter of a sack. Giants led the league in sacks allowed last season. AVG signed a 2-year, $20 million deal, so he's going to get a ton of play. I like him quite a bit. He was also really, really good from like a PFF standpoint. So those are the ones that caught my eye. But for the most part, I do tend to do the tackle props, but these are fun every once in a while.
Yeah,
it's
and
funny go ahead.
Oh, is it just real quick? Adam, you were right. The last time we did this show a couple weeks ago, you said Rashawn Gary for week 1. He just landed a sack a couple minutes ago. So, you know,
already
you get him. Yeah, already hitting them. Justin, what do you got?
Oh yeah, I was just going to say, you know, and we didn't talk about this ahead of time, but Adam, you're using the exact formula that I use when I'm looking for sacks. Two very important things because the variance is so high. I mean, guy could have 9 pressures in a game and still get nothing. Right. That's just how this works. It's not something that, you know, it's not sticky in terms of how reliable this is. Even you have a terrible offensive line and not a single sack happens, and you could have the best offensive line in the game and a team will rack up 5 sacks. It's just how it works. So I look for 2 things. I'm big on the quarter sack versus half sack or full sack because it just helps so much that you're not worried about whether the sack is going to get split or not, which happens a lot, right? And that's such a subjective call. And I hate the thought of that subjectivity causing me to lose the bet. So I love the quarter sack. And I always am trying to pair that with positive odds because they aren't going to hit very often. But if every time I bet the quarter sack, it's positive odds, particularly high positive, like that Gardeck one's great, right? Then I don't have to hit him as often, right? I only have to hit him every now and then. And I know that's all I'm going to be able to do is hit him every now and then. I cannot reliably hit these every week. So if I focus more on not being like not getting them right every week, which would be amazing, but I focus on how much money it ends up making me. You know, I just think that's a better headspace to be when you're making sack prop bets. So yeah, love all that positive money, particularly the higher the better. And also getting, you know, looking for the quarter sack, avoiding the pitfalls of the half sack and or the full sack either.
Yeah. And Adam, you had a great point on Hubbard too in the bounce back season. Yeah, health was a big reason why he got jammed up a little bit last year. He's looking a little bit better with that. And that Patriots offensive line, what was that, like the 3rd preseason game where Jacoby Brissett almost got killed, like legitimately? They were so bad. Yeah, and you know, if we get Chase or Higgins, hopefully both, but it doesn't look like Higgins. Even if we just get Chase, since he should kill these guys so bad that New England's going to be in a negative game script and forced to pass the entire second half anyway, and there's all your opportunities right there for a sack. So I'm with you. All righty, good stuff there. All right, number 3 for me. I want to go Carlton Davis, now of the Lions, formerly of the Bucks, over 4.5 combined tackles at minus 110. up against the Rams Sunday Night Football. So this Rams passing attack was 10th overall last season, but they targeted their wide receivers the most in the entire league, which is huge for cornerback tackles, right? You want that easy tackle after a completed pass. That's our floor. That's what we're looking to. This matchup also has the highest over-under of week 1 at 51.5 points. Not a huge spread between the two teams, so Vegas thinks it's a back-and-forth affair. Indoor game between two top 10 offenses from last season, plenty of star power and playmakers on both sides. Vegas thinks this will be a track meet, so who am I to disagree? With all that in mind, this has the makings of what we want for a good, productive game for Carlton Davis. He did only average 4 combined tackles a game last season, but he averaged 5 combined tackles a game the season before. And that, in my opinion, has more to do with health. When we have stretches of healthy Carlton Davis, we have incredible production. That just doesn't happen as often as we'd like it to, right? So this is the kind of matchup where we can expect production that beats out that line right there and secures us the bag. What do you guys think?
Yeah, I like that. And yeah, you make a really good point about the passing attack. That's basically everything, right? Like unless it's a slot corner or somebody spends a lot of time in the slot or the box, these outside corners. I mean, as we talked before, they're one week it's 12, 1 week it's 2, but that's what you need for the 12 tackle ones. You need offenses where their structure, their identity is throwing the ball a lot and trusting that their passing game is built on their receivers, not just a whole bunch of we've seen these offenses that although technically they pass a lot, they're not throwing out to the outside numbers as much as you would think. It is a lot of dump offs and all that sort of stuff. This is definitely an offense built to have the vertical element, and I hope, as long as this ends up being a punching match, which I believe it will be. And also it's great, Matt Stafford knows what he's doing. He is not afraid to let it rip. So even in tight coverage, he's not gonna hold that football. So all those things, it's why I used to love to bet cornerbacks for anyone who was playing Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers just does not care how good he thinks that coverage is. He is going to shoot for those outside numbers with his best wide receivers, because most of the time he's right. And I think Stafford has that same mentality.
Yeah, and we just saw this game a few months ago, and it was exactly what we need. It was exactly what we need for good production for Carlton Davis. So if we get like 75% of what we just saw, we're fine. We're sitting pretty. So, yep, good stuff. You guys got any bonus ones? Let me throw one out there. You guys tell me what you think. L'Jarius Sneed over 4.5. This is plus money at plus 114 up against that brand new Bears passing attack that may have joined the 21st century and may be good for the first time in forever.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. And I'm so excited for that Bears team, man. They're going to be so much fun.
Yeah, I totally agree. I've got I got a couple of unders I can throw out there, or I'll give you one in particular. So first of all, we're recording this on Friday night, and there's that Packers game's going on right now. The Packers Eagles game. I'm sweating that one out right now because I took the under on Xavier McKinney. Is under 6.5 tackles. I think he's we're in the third quarter. He's at 3 tackles now. So I hate rooting against tackles. But I'm mentioning this because I believed that that they were going to use McKinney deeper more than the Giants did last year. He played up a lot last year. I think they want Bullard to be now that McKinney's in Green Bay. I think they want Bullard to play up more. They trust McKinney more on the back end. That alone usually, not always, usually results in fewer opportunities, and that's kind of what we're seeing today. So I'm going to talk a little bit about Jaquan. Obviously, not asking you to bet a bet that's in the past, but I'm using that to set up my Jaquan Brisker under bet. He's at 7.5 tackles, and I went the under there. It's minus 135. I would like that to have been a little closer to even money, but I'll take minus 135. And it's because I think that this year, They're going to mix and match Brisker more. I don't think he's going to get as many box snaps as he did. And I mean, even a really good box safety, 7.5, that's more like a linebacker stat line. So the way I'm interpreting how this Bears defense is going to run is that we're going to get a lot more split safety, left safety, right safety setup. And I think the hint there is the fact that they signed Kevin Byard, and that is where he excels. He's played in a split safety set for years there in Tennessee. I think the presence of Byard and their ability to rock those two back and forth as needed is likely going to put Brisker in 20 yards deep, a little too often for me to assume this guy is going to get 8 tackles. And on top of that, they're playing the Titans. And the Titans are a lot of things, but Titans are not one of them when it comes to offensively. They've got Will Levis at quarterback. Gone is Derrick Henry. They do have some receivers, but DeAndre Hopkins is getting up there in age. I don't see this being a game where Tennessee is going to keep Chicago on the field for a ton of snaps. So I think he's going to play back more. I also think he probably won't. I don't see this being a 75 or 80 snap game for a guy like Brisker, and just 8 tackles is just a little bit too much for me. And I know, again, I hate betting against a player getting tackles, but I saw that and I just thought he's not a linebacker, and he's got Byard there now. So just it made me feel a little bit more confident to hit that under button.
Yeah. Hopkins is banged up too. We don't even know if he's playing. It was a horrendous passing attack last season. Does adding Calvin Ridley change all that? I don't know. Probably not, in my opinion. And there's too many chefs in the kitchen to begin with. We got 2 stud linebackers, and they added a stud safety as well. Competition for tackles and great tackling corners too. Plus, they worked on the defensive line. Brisker's life is going to be, production-wise, a lot harder this year. Real football-wise, I'm sure it'll be much better, but we don't care about that. We want production.
Yeah, and as much as he played, in the box last year, even last year, he only hit 8+ tackles. The last 2 years combined. The last 2 years combined, he's hit 8+ tackles in only 10 of his 30 games. So, and when we're looking at the break even for that -135 is 43%. He's only doing it 30-something%, right? 33%. And that's without Kevin Byard. The math just doesn't add up for me.
Yep. Adam, you got anything on that?
Yeah. Hey, Brisker's a fade. He's a fade in every format. I'm not going to be drafting Brisker in redraft. I'm not going to be drafting him in Dynasty. And then, I'm not going to be betting on him either. He's a fade. Hate him. I hate his guts.
That's going right on Twitter. Just give me 1 second. Adam spelled ADAM.
Let's make sure we tag Jaquan.
Yeah, please. Yeah,
that'd be really good for the brand.
Oh man, that is great. And then just throwing this out there too. So Juju Brents had over 4.5 combined tackles in the same setup as Kenny Moore. He's not Kenny Moore. I get it. But if you go look at when Juju Brents took over as that second corner and started playing 100% of snaps about a month and a half into last season, that guy took off like a freaking rocket ship, man. And he got hurt. He missed some time, but he came back and immediately regained his role. And the production was looking at good again towards the end of last season. That's a sneaky good play right there on a guy a lot of people don't know about. So maybe that's a good one too.
Yeah, I like that. Even if it's like the usage isn't great, like if he isn't playing slot, like you just want these aggressive little players, right? And that's what Juju Brents is. That's what Carlton Davis is,
Right.
So that's all we're looking for.
Beautiful. Well, good stuff. We got a bunch of good ones out there. Let's go ahead and dismount. Let's start with this though. So, Mr. Varnes, what do you got going on this season? What are you working on? Where can the people find your work?
We can always find me on Twitter at Down with IDP. I'm working with the fantasypoints.com site. I've been there since 2015 and starting to do some stuff now with you guys here at the IDP show, particularly when it comes to betting stuff, which I'm excited about. So I'll be back. I'll be back on here with you guys a couple more times this season. But basically, as often as you guys want to have me, I would love to come on. You can also hear me now that the season is going to get started. I'm going to be doing a weekly spot on Sirius XM, as you were saying, Johny, doing the morning show with Joe Dolan and Tom Brawley and those guys. So you can find me there. You can find me on Fantasy Points, but mostly just hit me up on Twitter. I'll be lurking somewhere, I'm sure.
And true story, I was driving to work one day and Justin Varnes comes on the radio talking about, I think it was a DeMarcus Lawrence sack prop or something. It might have not been a prop. This was a while ago, but you're talking about IDP production for DeMarcus Lawrence. And I'm like, well, I know this guy. And this is great. I love this. So that's really cool that you get to do that.
I just love the fact that we get to talk about defensive players on Sirius XM a little bit, right? It's a rarity that gets to happen. So I just kind of feel like it's our opportunity as an IDP community to just get more people interested in this. And I think prop bets are a great way to do it because you don't have to know anything about IDP. You don't have to be in some 36 rostered team and like the third string center for the Minnesota Vikings. None of that stuff. You can just sit back, say, listen to what we say and collect the money, basically.
That's true.
That's awesome.
Do you like defense? Do you like ball? You're gonna like all this stuff.
Yes. Amen. Yeah.
Yeah. We'll keep preaching the good word. We appreciate it.
Yeah. Happy to do it. Yeah.
Good stuff. And Adam, how about you? Any parting words or announcements, etc.?
No. At Adam IDP on the Twitters. You can find all of my stuff at the idpshow.com. Good luck to everybody this year. Thanks for listening. Thank you to Justin for joining us. A lot of fun. You're a legend, mate. A proper legend.
I'm honored. I'm honored to be on here with you guys. You guys are building something truly amazing, and I'm really honored to just be a little part of it. So keep up the good work, gents. I'll be listening even on the days where I'm not on here with you.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, thank you, Justin, for coming on. We love having you, man. Adam, a pleasure as always, my friend. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Before we get out of here, make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel for the other shows, the IDP Show, the IDP After Show, the IDP Trade Show, IDP Drafts. If you'd like to support the show, you can do so for just $5 a month over at the IDPshow.com. We've got some premium features for paid supporters that we know you'll enjoy. Follow us on Twitter at the IDP Show. Thanks for listening. Good luck, everyone. We'll see you guys next week. Same time, same place. Good luck in week 1. Take care. Bye.